Hey everyone, it's Brooke, one of the admission counselors at the Viterbi School of Engineering. I wanted to invite you to join us for the largest event of the fall. It's the Viterbi Expo at Discover USC coming up Sunday, October 20th. It's everything you would ever want from a day on campus. Viterbi admission keynote sessions, student design teams, makerspace tours, student organizations, and more. You'll get to meet our current students, hear from faculty, and tour facilities. To register for the event, go to viterbi.link/events. That's VITERBI.link/events, EVENTS. We hope to see you there. Now let's get your podcast started.
This is Viterbi Voices.
Coming to you from the University of Southern California, Viterbi School of Engineering.
We're here to give you the inside scoop on research, classes, student life, and so much more.
All of these shared by students, faculty, alumni, and other members of the USC community.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Viterbi Voices. As usual, I am one of your hosts. My name is Paul Ledesma, Executive Director of Undergraduate Admission here at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering.
And I am your other host, Safia Patel. I'm a senior studying computer science and doing my master's in engineering management. And we have another co-host with us today. Gerson, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Gerson Estrada. I am a junior here studying biomedical engineering. In terms of what I do here, I'm part of the Associated Students of Biomedical Engineers, as well as the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. I'm also really involved and passionate about my research in the biomedical microsystems laboratory. And, outside of that, I really just enjoy playing soccer in the village and playing violin in the symphony orchestra.
Cool, man. And I think the only thing you left out is where are you from?
Oh, yeah. I'm from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. So a little bit of the middle of nowhere, but there, yeah.
It's very cool. This is your first time on the podcast, right, Gerson?
Right, yeah.
Welcome
Yeah.
to it. You're officially a podcaster now. What when you were looking at colleges and universities, being from Oklahoma, what was your college search like? What other schools were you considering, and how did you end up choosing USC as the place?
Yeah, I mean, back in high school, I didn't really have the options as much to, visit campuses.
Sure.
So actually, Viterbi Voices was a really good way that I
Oh, really?
got to, yeah. I remember listening to Latinx like engineers at USC or something like that, and also like biomedical engineers in Boba.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, I know it's definitely like a 360 moment right now. It's super
How cool
cool.
is
Like,
that? Now you're
yeah.
on it.
How was
Yeah.
it producing the episode? Was it fun?
Yeah, no, for sure. It was fun. Also, like getting everybody that already graduated, like getting them all to come together and just like talk to them about how they've been doing. Yeah.
I think we just buried the lead here. Why don't you tell us what this episode's all about?
Yeah, so I gathered some of my friends that have graduated and talked to them about life after biomedical engineering. All of them studied biomedical engineering here at USC. So we have everything from medical school, law school, consulting, industry, potentially doing a PhD program. So yeah, very diverse.
That's sick.
That is really cool. So some fantastic set of conversations with recent biomedical engineering alumni. Let's get out of the way, hand it straight back over to you to learn all about this topic and conversation, and we will see you on the other side of Gerson's episode to do a little chit chat, flim flam, ridiculous conversation topics on the back end.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Viterbi Voices. My name is Gerson Estrada. I am a junior here at USC studying biomedical engineering. And today I will be talking about life after BME, along with some of my friends that have recently graduated. So do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'll kick it off. Hey, everybody. My name is Nick Enriquez. I graduated December 2023. I studied biomedical engineering at USC, had a molecular cellular emphasis, and now I work in Desi Bio Consulting, a boutique strategy consulting firm, and have made the pivot from engineering into more of a finance and business role.
Hi, I'm Anthony. I graduated in spring 2024. and I'm sticking around, finishing my PDP in molecular microbiome and immunology.
Hi, my name is Celine Vasquez. I graduated May 2024 with a degree in biomedical engineering, no emphasis, and now I work as a scientist at Genentech in San Francisco.
My name is Melanie. I graduated spring 2024 with a degree in biomedical engineering with a mechanical engineering emphasis. I'm currently working as an R&D engineer at Bolt Medical.
Hi, I'm Kara. I graduated in spring 2024 with a degree in biomedical engineering with a molecular cellular emphasis. I'm currently working as a clinical research coordinator for my lab from undergrad, and I'm also applying to medical school right now.
Okay, nice, nice, nice. So we have I would say we have a big diversity of career paths here. I was just wondering if you guys could talk about a little bit about what you guys are doing nowadays at work, or research, or whatever you guys are doing, and just elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah, I can kick it off. So I work as an analyst in strategy consulting. So day to day, it actually varies quite a bit, but from month to month and project to project, it looks very similar. So my job is to go out and understand basically whatever needs to be understood to answer a strategic question, right? And that's very broad, but it covers a huge range of things, and it can range from generally interviewing people who are familiar in the space and understanding how they might drive adoption of technology or adoption of therapeutic or diagnostic, synthesizing information with other secondary research, understanding the competitive landscape, market dynamics, a bunch of other business words, and then generally putting it out in really long PowerPoint and then presenting it to a client and hopefully getting paid while doing it.
All right, I can go next. So most days for me start with research and end with research. And it's basically a process of going from bench work to cell work. I work with CAR T cell therapy, which is basically gene editing within T cells to target cancer. And that involves like basically splicing and cutting DNA from plasmids, transforming bacteria to amplify it, and then extracting that to then infect T cells with it for testing. And that's the same like kind of formulaic set of experiments that I have to run pretty much every time I want to make a new one. But I'm tweaking it each time to test new versions, new variants, to just keep improving on what I've done before. So it's a little bit repetitive, but it is necessary to make what I need. And that's pretty much it with the rest of my research. I still do have classes, but it's not nearly as many as I'd had in undergrad. So pretty manageable on that front. But yeah, I do spend most of my time in lab right now.
I can go next. So for Genentech, I'm in a rotational program. So I'm doing 4 6-month rotations throughout their developmental sciences department. So I'm starting in bioanalytical sciences, specifically working in assay development. So lots of pipetting there, which my research in undergrad is becoming handy for that. And my day-to-day kind of just like going into lab, setting up my experiments for the day, running incubation times, and then when I have that spare time, finding things to do. I'm still new to the company, so setting up networking events, and also Genentech's really good about hosting a lot of different professional development for young people that just graduated. So that's also been good, attending events like that. And then going back to my experiments, finishing up in lab for the day. And then when I come home, I forgot to mention, I'm also finishing up my master's degree. So watch lectures, do homework, and go to bed and repeat the next day. But I feel like every day is kind of different in terms of sometimes you get to work on different side projects and things like that. And also knowing that I'll get to rotate to a different department in February is nice to know about. So I get to choose between like safety assessment or translational medicine, different things like that. So yeah, just a little bit about what I do.
Hi, it's Lisa interrupting your podcast with a quick invite to anyone in the Chicago area. I'm going to be heading up to Chicago on Sunday, October 6th for the Discover USC events, and I would love to meet you. This is a great opportunity to meet all kinds of cool representatives from the university, like myself, and hear more about our engineering and computer science programs. Don't forget to register online at viterbi.link/events. Again, that's Viterbi, VITERBI.link. LINK/events, EVENTS. I hope you enjoy the rest of your podcast.
So I work at a startup. So we are not commercial yet. So a lot of it is like new product development work. I do a lot of testing for data that can be used for business decisions across different product lines. And then I'm working more like hands-on on a few different new product developments right now. So a lot of like anatomical modeling, prototype testing, device characterization, predicate characterization. So a lot of like mechanical testing and statistical analysis. Yeah, kind of regular R&D work.
Yeah, and then for me, so my job, I'm working to support my lab on our clinical research studies. So my lab from undergrad, we um, make like point of care, low cost diagnostics, and we're starting to do testing with either volunteers from campus or patients with our collaborators at Keck. So my work right now just looks like I'm writing a lot of protocols and putting together documents for submission to the USC Institutional Review Board to get approval for our studies. And then once those get approved, then I'm going to start doing collection with patients that come in. And then I also spend my days preparing for like med school interviews and volunteering and just in general working on my medical school application.
Right. No, that's super cool. I'm like realizing right now how like diverse everybody's lives are. Like I would have thought it's kind of the same, but you guys like sound like you guys like do very, very different things. I was just hoping or wondering if any one of you guys could elaborate on what PDP program is, because I know some of you guys are doing it. So I think a lot of people kind of want to know what that is.
I can talk about it. It's essentially a truncated master's program that you start as an undergrad. So I started mine technically fall semester senior year. So by the time I graduated, I had, I believe it's 10 or 11 units done towards it. So it basically shortened what would be a 2-year program after graduating to a 1 year only. But because of depending on the program, it may still involve writing a master's thesis or not. So for me, I still have to write a master's thesis and then defend in the spring or in the summer, depending on how things go, um, and depending on how comfortable I am with studying the MCAT when I need to be. But uh, yeah, it's essentially a master's program, but USC has a special way to start early so you can finish early as well.
Nice. Okay. Another question I had was, how do you guys feel like studying BME at USC really like helped you in your college career? And like, what were some key takeaways that you guys still use now?
Yeah, I'm happy to jump on this one for a minute, and everybody else feel free to add in as well. But I actually found the most valuable thing. Like, of course, the classes are important. Like, you have to have the foundational knowledge. You have to understand, like, what all the central dogma is for any given subject. But what was most useful to me that I got out of my education was actually in extracurriculars and the opportunities offered on campus, right? So things like entrepreneurship competitions, things like design clubs, things like professional clubs, really pursuing and connecting with a lot of these opportunities across a diverse range of experiences that I was interested in. I couldn't see it when I was actually doing it and how we would all eventually connect together, right? You have to live forward, but it only makes sense in reverse. And so at the time, I didn't really know how it would all connect together, but just pursuing all these different clubs, all these different interests, making sure I had an identity, activities, and life outside of just the classroom. That was the most valuable thing for me. And I think that's really what prepared me to be where I'm at today in the role that I am.
Right. So like the networking, the opportunities, you said, I think you mentioned entrepreneurship competitions, which is really
Yeah, yeah,
cool.
yeah. A
Could
lot
you
of
talk a little bit more
applications.
about that? Because I know I'm interested in that.
Yeah, yeah, I'll talk briefly about it. I participated in the Missy Entrepreneurship Competition, the Min Family Challenge, a couple of the other ones as well. Also, Lives Not Great is another plug for the class. And so a lot of what I wanted to do was focused around applications, right, and creating something and innovation. I mean, I have to show up to class, I have to take the midterms, but for me, I found value and interest in applying things and creating things. And so entrepreneurship was a natural way to do that, while still using a lot of an engineering background and focus. Um, Happy to dig down on any more of that if you're interested, but that's kind of a high level overview.
Right. If I remember correctly, I think you were like the president of Med Design, maybe. Um,
Yeah,
so I know a lot of people that are interested in BME would think, well, probably think that club is really cool. So could you talk about that? Because I know I thought it was really cool when I first came to USC.
yeah, yeah. I actually remember reading your applications.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, no, no stress there. No, I do very, very much remember you from there. Yeah. So Med Design is, I'll just briefly about it. Med Design is a club centered around novel medical device design, right? And so, like we've been talking about, it's an intersection of application, entrepreneurship, and engineering, where you have a year-long goal to find a problem, design a solution, implement it as best as you can in a prototype or MVP, and then iterate as much as you can and then present. So it's meant to be almost like a senior design class, but not for seniors. And so the main goal was to get students who are interested in like creation in this application of knowledge, get them the resources and skills that they need in order to be able to execute that before the senior design, right? Because senior design is great, but it's really hard to talk about a senior design project or use that for something when you're trying to talk about your applications and your experiences when you apply to something like med school or a job or graduate school or whatever you're going on to next. It's really hard if you don't have those experiences. And so we really wanted to enable students who are self-motivated and driven to innovate in the space. We wanted to connect them with the resources and skills that they need to actually, realize their goals.
Right. Yeah, no, I've heard of like startups coming out of there. So I thought that was like really cool when I first came to USC. Kind of in the same vein, could everybody kind of talk a little bit more about what you guys did here at USC during your undergrad?
Yeah, I can go ahead and start. So during USC, I was a VSA, so that's what Gerson is doing now. So super exciting to see him in that role. I was also involved in ASBME, so it's the Biomedical Engineering organization. Met some of my closest friends there, so that was also a good opportunity. Also learning how to network in that organization as well, was a really important skill that I feel like I'm taking into corporate America. I was also involved in Helene's, which is the school spirit organization on campus. Also, something that I feel like is helping me now because I feel like through that club, I found a good balance between BME life and also life outside of BME. And so I think that's something I want to continue to carry with me into post grad, being able to leave work at work and then do fun things after. So I feel like that has been a good way for me to transition into that. Um, I also did research in the Zavaleta lab with Anthony, and that was a fun time. I really liked the lab culture there. I feel like it was like training wheels before actually going into a real lab, like in corporate world, transitioning from like academia to corporate. It's very different. And so I feel like I gained like the basic skills that I needed to from that lab experience and being able to apply them in my job currently. So yeah.
Yeah, I can continue. Just to piggyback off of yes, Celine and we did research together in the Zavaleta lab. So that was another pretty big component of my undergrad experience, and that's how we know each other in the first place. I also did spent a lot of my time outside of class within ASBME stuff. Um, really started with ASBME doing Project in a Box, which was the volunteer kind of wing of it. At first it was on Zoom because we were all on Zoom, but then we transitioned to in person at the school right by campus. Um, and I knew when I wanted to go to USC that I wanted to do some kind of tutoring with younger kids, so that was kind of my way of doing that. Um, and then later on, I did more of the planning and overhead administrative stuff. So that helped a lot with networking, leadership skills, just generally organizing things that involve more than just me. Um, and I did do med design for a year with Kara under Kara's team. So uh, that actually pretty much sums up what I did outside of class. But I did spend a lot of time in those three things.
Wait, Kara, you did med design?
Yeah,
I did not know that. What? Okay, go ahead.
so I was like Gerson said, I was in med design for 2 years. I was also really involved in ASBME, so I did Project in a Box. And then eventually I became Viterbi liaison, and I was helping to plan a lot of our networking events. And I was also involved with the community health fair that we started in my senior year. And then outside of clubs, I was involved. I did a lot of teaching on campus. So I was a Viterbi learning program tutor, and I was also a TA for BME 101. And then I just did some other volunteering in the community as well, outside of my involvement on campus.
So like many people here, I also was part of Project in a Box. That's how I met Kara, actually, I think. And then I was part of SHIP, which is the Hispanic engineering organization on campus. I didn't participate too heavily, but it was really good to have like a network of people that kind of like look like you and relate to you in a way. I was also part of Mad Hatter Knits, as kind of like a de-stressor. You like basically knit hats for preemie babies, which was really nice. It was a really sweet way to spend some time just alone. And then I was also part of Math on the Border through the math department with Professor David Crombeck, where we via Zoom would tutor kids that were either detained at the border or relocated with extended family. And it was all in Spanish, so it was really nice to be able to give back in that way.
Nice. Nick, do you have anything else apart from med design that you did?
Yeah. So I was also part of ASBME e-board for a grand total of 1 year, give or take. Which is nice to see insight and sort of join the community. I was part of med design as well, basically my whole time. I did independent entrepreneurship, but I also was in the Trojan marching band. Huge plug for that. Trombones for anybody listening, best section. And yeah, that pretty much sums it up.
Nice. Fun fact, Carol was actually my TA freshman year. And I was really scared of her freshman year, but now she's like, well, I'm like one of her favorite people. So, it's kind of a 360 there. Apart from that, what do you guys do outside of, your jobs, research, all of that? Like what do you guys do for fun after hours?
Yeah, I love music. Music is a big part of my life. I pick up the guitar. I love to play guitar, go on runs around my neighborhood, work out as much as I can, stay active, um, and just generally do like engineering and just shenanigans, like keep it fun, keep it open, and as varied as possible. But core, probably music and exercise.
I can continue because it's similar at least. Basically, I on lab days especially, I will go straight from like in the morning, I'll pack my gym stuff, and then I will just spend the entire day just gym and then go straight into or lab and then straight into the gym and then go back home. I also now play intramural soccer on Wednesdays. which has been a little bit humbling, to say the least. Uh, and then that's actually pretty much it. My
Anthony,
days
me and
are
you had to
pretty
play
quiet now.
soccer.
You're
You got to
still
pull up.
better than me for sure. The the intramural team I got onto was at intermediate level, which was probably uh too much for me. But sometimes I hold my own, but the second I'm found out of position, it's pretty bad. But anyway.
Nice.
He's also a big outdoors guy. Anthony and I just got back from a Yosemite backpacking trip with another alum. He's a big outdoors guy. He loves hiking and backpacking.
Yeah, I definitely was really fast with the pack on my back. That went super, super well. It was fun. Not joking, it was fun, but yeah. Anyway.
No, you guys do a lot more than I do. I feel like I'm just like hunched here in my apartment, just doing work all the time. Um, Anyone else?
Um,
Celine, Kira, I don't know.
yeah. So I've been spending a lot of time just trying to take advantage of my gap year. I've been traveling, so I went on like a little road trip to some national parks in Utah a few weeks ago. And then I also recently got back from visiting Celine in San Francisco. So that was a super fun girls' trip. And then I'm doing things like I'm taking a pottery class right now. I'm learning how to play tennis. I'm training for a marathon in theory. So that's kind of what I've been spending my days doing, just trying to pick up new hobbies while I have free time before starting medical school next year.
I forgot to mention, but I'm also studying for the LSAT. I plan to apply to law school the next cycle, so 2025. So aside from studying for that, I've also been trying to get into running, trying to keep it active. Um, I live in Carlsbad now. That's where my company is. But down to La Jolla sometimes to try out some food spots, or I hang out in the downtown area by where I live, try new coffee shops, thrift a little bit, just like try to just get away from the studying when I can because I do a lot of like literature research and like documentation. So it's nice to get away from kind of like the heavy technical work sometimes.
Nice. I know a lot of people like don't really do law school that are in BME. At least not that I've heard of. I know like a couple years ago there was someone that did BME and is now like at Harvard doing law school there. Melanie, could you talk a little bit more about like, like what drove you to do law school and like, how do you plan on like using BME for that?
Yeah, so the goal with law school now is to enter the patent law space. I think for me, it's more of just like the big picture of what I want for my life because I think in industry with BME, you kind of have two options where as you grow in your role, either like stay very technical or you enter like a very like managerial space, which neither sounds super appealing to me long term because eventually I would like to have like my own thing, which like I don't know that I would necessarily want to have like my own engineering company. So I just like started kind of seeing what else was um available or what else was an option with biomedical engineering. And I learned that it's not super common, but a good chunk of people do engineering and then go to law school and enter the patent law space. So you're still um very technical. You it's like actually required that you have a hard science background to practice. Um, so I think that kind of gives me the best of both worlds. Also, this is kind of like a side personal comment, but like my sister is also interested in doing the same thing. So it'd be so cute if we could like have our own firm together. I think that would be so nice.
No, that's super cool. I mean, I know patent law like is very lucrative. So I can definitely see that
That's always nice. Yeah.
right, right.
Um,
All you need is the money. What was I
the impact is
gonna?
also very good.
Right, 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 right. Of course, of course. I know two of you guys are also doing med school and are preparing for that. Could both of you guys talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, so when I started out at USC, I was interested in the biomedical engineering side, but then after having some patient volunteering experiences, I realized I wanted to work more on the patient side of the medical technology. And so I spent my undergrad, getting involved in different experiences that were more geared towards medical school, but I continued to still be involved in the engineering side because I still like that. Um, but now, I'm applying to medical school right now. I'm fully within the process, and I'm really happy that I did BME in undergrad because I think it gives me a different perspective. But I also want to try and continue to remain involved with the technology side, through medical school and beyond. So I think um, it's been really good to kind of do pre-med on this BME pathway because it not only gives me different experiences that I've really enjoyed and talk about, but I also just think it gives me a different perspective on medicine itself and what I want to do in the future.
I can talk about my motivations, I guess, a little bit. I guess I went into the major knowing that I wanted to go to medical school eventually. Um, just kind of dumb, honestly, because you don't need to be an engineer to go to medical school. I just wanted to try it before I committed, and I never really changed my mind. Um, but I am not as far along in the process. Like I haven't taken my MCAT yet. I will be applying not this upcoming May, but the next upcoming May. Uh, but I do think that the engineering background will help me going forward because it is a very particular type of problem solving skill set and way you kind of have to think throughout the undergrad program that does help moving forward when you go on to a medical practice. Um, and I still enjoy like from the volunteering I've done. I like the patient interaction, um, and just like any kind of medical setting I found to be super interesting. So I'm still fairly committed to it, but I do think that the engineering background does help in a maybe kind of like more the diagnostic perspective of medicine, but um, it's a it was useful, and I do think that for people who are pre-med and BME right now, who are kind of wavering either way, whether they should switch out of BME or switch out of pre-med, you can do both. It's very doable. You just kind of have to stick with it.
Hey there, so sorry to interrupt this podcast, but this is Brooke again with a quick announcement for all my East Coasters. If you live in Boston, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, or Miami, we are traveling to these cities on the East Coast to represent the Viterbi School and our Discover USC programs very soon. Learn more about the university and our engineering and computer science programs. Go to viterbi.link/events, that's viterbi.link/events to see when we will be in your area. Thanks so much. And now back to your podcast.
Okay, so we have future doctors, we have future lawyers, we have future, I don't know, managers, businessmen. For those of you that are working right now in industry, um, could you guys talk about what your future plans are? Where do you guys see yourselves going? Like either in the same company, maybe move to a different company. Like what's the ultimate goal?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at applying for PhD programs after my first year in this rotational program. So I'm still using the experience to kind of explore what research areas I'm most interested in. So that's the goal. We'll see if I change my mind after a year. But that's kind of where I had my heart set when applying to this program. So yeah, PhD and then probably moving back into industry. So the long-term goal would be to move higher up in a company.
Do you have like any like particular PhD interest or industry interest?
Yeah, I think right now I'm getting a lot of exposure to different things that I hadn't thought about before. But I think initially when I graduated USC, I was looking more into like diagnostics in the oncology space. But now kind of looking at what's out there, my interest might be shifting a little bit, but I don't want to say because I'm not 100% certain. But that's sort of what I was thinking when I had graduated.
Right, Nick, I know you've been already working for, I don't know, a year or two now.
Yeah, I started in March, so about half a year. Right now, I don't have any concrete plans on leaving. For the first time, I've switched around a lot of roles before landing where I am now, and I actually really enjoy what I do and where I do it. So I don't plan on leaving for at least a few years. There's also in consulting in general, there's usually a pretty clearly defined promotional track. It's really the way that I talk about it is a lot more as like a form of secondary education rather than like a job, because it's no med school, it's no law school, don't get me wrong, but you do so much and you get to see so many different projects and so many different landscapes and so many different problems in the way that they're solved. You really learn at an accelerated rate, and so I've learned more in the last 6 months than I've learned in the majority of my time at school. To be totally honest, because you at such a high intensity, and it's something that really resonates with me. It is hard. It is demanding. It is very long, but it's still at the same time fun and rewarding and motivating. And I don't see myself leaving for at least a couple of years. But if I did after that, it would be more to hopefully strike it out on my own in some position, or maybe I'll coast it out at some. Maybe I'll see Selena Amgen or something like that. Who knows? But for the meantime, I'm happy where I'm at, and I don't really see myself leaving.
Right. You said you do consulting, right?
Yep.
Could you like elaborate a little bit more? I know I'm gonna be honest, I don't really have that good of an idea what consulting looks like for the biomedical engineering field. So could you like elaborate on that and what like I guess a day in your life looks like? I know every day is different, but I guess like an average.
Yeah. So I'll talk about there's only one project my company has publicly released. There's other ones that are kind of in similar vein, but I'll talk about the public one just for ease of not having to mince my words. So we have a project with Precision Cancer Consortium, right? And the whole goal of this, it's a whole bunch of companies like the Pfizer's, AstraZeneca's of the world. And their goal is to increase liquid biopsy testing, right? So like blood-based diagnostics in low resource areas, right? And they're trying to expand testing. And that's similar to the first project I was on, where it was sort of supporting testing for something. And to be honest, consulting is one of those things where you kind of either know what it is or you don't, and it's really hard to know what it is until you do it. And in reality, what it really is day to day varies a lot, but in reality, it's just solving a problem, right? It's answering a question. So at the end of the day, the client comes to us with a question, they pay us money to answer it, and somebody's got to figure it out. So the higher levels, like the managers, the partners, they do a lot of like, okay, here's how we're going to try and answer this question. And then people at my level, the grunts of the world, the analysts, the associates, they actually have to go out and do the field work. And so for me, it's a lot of interviewing and being like, okay, so let's figure out why liquid biopsy testing is so hard to get to in these rural areas, right? Is it a lack of infrastructure to support the blood like traveling, or is it a lack of infrastructure to support the blood draw? Is it a lack of people getting into the clinics? Is it a lack of clinics in general? There's so many different factors, right? And so being able to critically analyze this through a technical lens, is very, very important, because it's really hard to teach someone with a business background everything you would need to know about, the diagnostics or therapeutic space, versus it's, to be quite frank, a lot easier to take someone who has an engineering background or familiarity with the space and make sure that they have some familiarity with business, because you can learn a lot of that on the fly, but it's hard to get that undercurrent of technicality. So day to day, I know it's kind of a long answer. Day to day, it varies a lot, but really at the end of the day, it's a different brand of engineering, right? It's still problem solving, it's still technical, it's still very involved. But these questions are a lot more generally, how can we support these tools, right? How can we support this effort? And so it's almost a step removed from the engineering work itself. And it's more meta almost. And if that sounds confusing, it is.
All right. Yeah, I think that cleared it up a little bit. It's definitely something that I should probably dive into more. But apart from that, I was also wondering, I guess for everybody, are there any misconceptions that you guys would say people have about biomedical engineering at USC, or like industry, or like whatever space you guys are working in right now?
I think it's such a broad field that by name alone, most people as incoming freshmen won't know what to expect, what they're going to do. I know when I was a freshman, I went into it thinking, okay, I can angle my course load in a way that was basically to learn about the research I'm doing now, but I didn't really do any learning about the research I'm doing now until I started doing the research I'm doing now. And that's after I graduated. So with regards to, I guess a fundamental misunderstanding I had is the entire field is based in EE. So everything, or almost everything, in the foundational classes that you take are some form of EE, or like based in EE concepts. Like you do so much modeling of biological systems as a circuit, which seems kind of funny to think about, but it's just because everything's kind of based in EE. All the like texts and stuff are written in that way. Um, so I kind of did wish I knew that coming in. It didn't really make that much of a difference, honestly, but it did it did change my perspective of how the program is set up, especially early on. And yeah, USC does have emphases, but they don't really come into play until your your maybe junior year, probably more likely senior year.
Yeah, no, I know everybody here has taken BME 202. And to me personally, that class has been like my favorite here at USC so far, just because I don't know, I still find it fascinating how we were able to learn like the process that a neuron undergoes through an electrical circuit, and then we like modeled it in Excel and like MATLAB. So I totally get what you're saying about the how everything in the body can be modeled through electrical engineering. But does anybody else have any like misconceptions that you guys think people outside of BME have?
I think it was kind of touched
No?
on earlier, but there is a big misconception that within BME, I guess, not necessarily outside, so take it with a grain of salt, but within BME that you can only either go into a technical role or a managerial role, right? And that is true if you work at like a Medtronic or a big engineering firm, or the similar. But like we've heard, you can go to med school, which is again kind of like another version of higher education, law school. You can go to business. You can go into basically whatever you want, right? I think the biggest misconception about biomedical engineering is that, the most important thing you learn is like how to model a cell circuit, right? In reality, the most important thing that you learn is how to think critically, how to evaluate, right? How to get the sort of, I don't want to say the engineering mindset, but I'm going to say the engineering mindset, right? How to solve problems, think creatively and critically. And I think this all runs with the undercurrent of a biologic background, right? With the goal of helping people, of improving lives, and just generally leveraging bio knowledge, electrical knowledge, mechanical knowledge. But really, biomedical engineering, the biggest misconception is that you can only be an engineer with it, right? And I think in reality, there's a lot more also opportunities and possibilities that it's really hard to get exposed to if there's 3 BME companies recruiting at the fair, and all of them are big engineering firms. Then you're going to think that's all there is in the world. In reality, platforms like this and connecting grads and understanding where people have gone with similar degrees and understanding what paths are open to you, it's hard, but it's very worthwhile because you will never know what's out there until you go explore, rather than just being fed like, okay, you can only be an engineer. You could be a research scientist one, or you could be maybe later you'll be a project manager one. When in reality, there's a lot more gray space, a lot more areas to move, and what you take away from your degree shouldn't just be the technical knowledge. It should be, this higher architecture of how to problem solve, how to think critically and evaluate a situation and then act on it. And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions within and about BME.
Right. I know that's definitely something that I thought coming into BME. My first thought was, oh, I'm just going to work at a company. But now, like further on, I found out, oh, like you can go to med school, you can go to law school, you can, I don't know, create your own company. You can do so many things, and I think that's so cool about BME. That's like so versatile. You can do pretty much anything, really. Um, Moving on, as somebody that's still undergoing the biomedical engineering process here at USC, studying that. What advice would you guys give me, and maybe even students younger, like students that are thinking about studying biomedical engineering? What advice would you guys um, give?
Yeah, I can start. I would say number one is just to keep your options open. I didn't know what I was doing post grad until March of senior year. And while that can be scary for some people, I feel like if I would have like stuck to what I knew like junior year or sophomore year after interning at a company and not liking it, like would have stuck with that, like I wouldn't have been happy post grad. So I think just taking risks and keeping options open and exploring what you like and what you don't like is important. Number two is to enjoy your time in college because I know when you're in it, it seems like the hardest thing in the world. But like post grad is also hard because you work and you don't see like your friends anymore. And it's just like really that college community that is like lacking, at least for me now, post grad. And it takes time to develop that. So I think when you're in college, just enjoy that moment because it's really a trial run of like adulting before you actually have to adult and like pay your rent and do everything by yourself. So yeah, I would say just enjoy that time.
Yeah, I agree with Celine. I think like definitely expanding on what she said, like don't be afraid to explore different things. Like I thought I wanted to do medical school, but I still did an internship in a medical device company. I did a lot of research outside. I did teaching stuff. Like don't like lock yourself into one thing and always, keep exploring different options because that is one thing with BME is it's very versatile. Like you can go into a lot of different career paths. Like, all of us on this podcast are all doing different things, and that's because we all explore different interests in undergrad. So take advantage of the time you have in college to be flexible and explore anything that interests you because now is the time to really see what's out there.
Yeah. So this is controversial. Feel free to edit it out. I would say one of the least important things about college are the classes, right? And I don't mean that as in you should cut class, right? You still need to go to class, you still need to pass your classes, you still need to get your degree. But there's so much more that college has to offer that is not found in the classroom that you cannot find anywhere else. And so class should not be the end all be all. You shouldn't skip it, but you also shouldn't go home after class and just study every day, right? Like someone was saying, you need to go out, you need to explore, take risks. You're going to fail a lot, both in class and in personally. And you need to be okay with that. Like you're going to do nothing but fail for probably 4 years and probably for the rest of your life. So don't be afraid to go out, be delusional, take risks, skip class maybe once a semester, go do something fun. But classes are not the end all be all, unless you're going to med school, then maybe they are.
Right. No, I think that's definitely something I've been realizing recently. I know I applied to like 4 clubs, like really competitive clubs this semester. And, a lot of times you don't get the best outcome. Sometimes you do. But it's definitely been a fun experience applying. and putting myself out there. All right, thank you guys so much for being here and taking the time out of your days to answer these questions. I know they're big questions that I was probably asking myself in high school, um, and in my early biomedical engineering academic career. So I really appreciate that. I think that's all we have for today. And yeah, thank you.
And we're back. Thank you for hosting that lovely episode,
Great
Kristen. You had a
job.
lot of guests. I was surprised.
It was
Thank
great
you.
to hear
Thank you.
Celine again. That was awesome.
Celine, I'm kind of biased, but the last episode was my current roommate, and then Celine was my roommate when I first transferred to USC,
Oh, really?
actually. Yeah.
How
She
cool is
was the one
that?
who told me to join Viterbi Student Ambassadors, actually.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
That's
Same,
cool.
same. Yeah.
Wow, look at this. You guys are all little Celine babies.
Just getting all of my ex-roommates onto the podcast.
You're gonna run out pretty soon.
I have one more that's
You
Viterbi,
got one more?
actually.
You got one more? Okay. Is it a good thing that you have so many ex-roommates? I mean, that just sounds like you're a serial killer. Like you're just going through them all.
The first three were a grade above me, so they were all lived like in a senior house
Got it.
together. They were
Got
actually
it.
my neighbors though. So I would just pop into their house like randomly and force them to hang out with me. So it was
Well,
still
no wonder
fun.
they don't want it. No wonder they left.
They enjoyed my company. I would come over and make puzzles with them in their loft. It was fun.
Oh, cool. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Don't worry.
Very cool. How is the fourth week of classes treating both of you? Gerson, everything going okay?
It's a fifth week.
Yeah,
It's the fifth week?
yeah, the
Yeah.
fifth
Oh my
week.
God, you're right. It's the fifth
Already
week.
losing track.
I have no idea. I'm so behind.
Yeah, no, things are starting to ramp up. Homework is actually starting to be homework,
Mhm.
projects, assignments, and whatnot. So it's a lot, but it's exciting. So
Yeah.
yeah,
You're in your junior year?
yeah, junior year, yeah,
Fun year,
yeah,
fun year. It gets a little chaotic,
yeah.
but
I can already see it. Yeah,
are your midterms already starting? My first one is next week.
I had I guess two last week.
Oh wow. Okay.
Not the biggest midterms because well, one is for bio and that's for a semester. So but yeah, they've started.
Wow. Wow. Very
Fortunate.
cool. And then I hear you all have fall break coming up too, right? In a couple weeks.
Yes, I'm excited.
What any plans for fall break, or is this an opportunity just to like wind down and do nothing for 2 days?
Mm,
As
go
of
ahead.
right now, I don't think I have anything. So maybe just wind down, but we'll see. I think I'm approaching the end of my college years, you could say. So I'm definitely looking to, explore LA, do more things around the area.
Yeah, take advantage. Take advantage.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to San Diego for a concert on one of the days.
Oh, really?
And I didn't even realize it was fall break. So it works out perfectly, but I don't know if I should just turn it into a weekend trip in San Diego or if I just want
Yeah.
to chill out. We'll see what ends up
Yeah.
happening.
What concert are you seeing?
Omar Apollo.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah,
I'm
it's gonna be
pretending
fun.
I know who that is, and that's a really good choice.
Oh, we haven't been doing our artists lately. That can be your new one to look into.
Well, since we talked about Chapel Roan however long ago, like that
Mm.
has like now been in my life without. Yeah,
Really?
it's really weird. Like you brought it up, and then all of a sudden Chapel Roan's like everywhere, and
I
it's
told
all
you
over
she
the
was blowing
place.
up.
And Hot to Go, that song is played a lot in my house. So
I'll teach you
it's
the dance. Do you know have you seen the dance to it where it's like
no, I haven't.
that's right. Sorry, I think my mic
You just
disconnected.
drop your mic.
Maybe I just got too excited.
Oh, it's where yeah. We started doing the dance moves. You got to set it up. You got to get a Madonna microphone. You got to get
Yeah, yeah, for
the
sure.
little earpiece and things like that.
I'm gonna start performing and making it like with video so I can actually see them doing the dance and everything.
I think it's a good idea. It's a good idea. Well, here we are. We are wrapping up. It's crazy. It's the end of September. And if you're out there looking at applying for fall 2025 as a first year student or as a transfer student, we've got some dates that are coming up. For first year students, the early action deadline for admission is November 1st. So we're basically a month out. If you haven't started the application, I recommend you do so. Get in there. It's going to take some time. Applying early action is non-binding, non-restrictive. It means there's no rules and there's no increasing or decreasing chances of admission by applying EA. I always recommend students do it if they have the ability to get their application in on time, because applying early action means that you can be considered for merit-based scholarships, which I think is always a good idea. If you can't meet the November 1st deadline. Our final deadline for first year applicants is January 15th. For our transfer students, you still got plenty of time. The application is open, but the transfer application for fall 2025 is not due until February 1st. What do I feel like I'm getting that
I
wrong?
feel like it's the 15th. No.
February 15th? Yes, it's February 15th. So you've got plenty of time. Nothing to worry about at this point. I wouldn't even worry about it until you get through your first term here, either your fall term. Just get through that. When you're done with that, then you can start working on a transfer application at whatever college or university you're currently attending. There are still a number of different ways to visit campus and to visit with us wherever you might be. And so if you would like to check that out, go to viterbi.link/events. Viterbi.link/events is the best place to go. And that's, you'll see opportunities to visit campus on most Mondays and Fridays. Plus, we have a few other scattered days in there around holidays. We have virtual events running on a couple weekends. And we've got some off-campus events happening around the country still throughout the month of October. And we culminate in our large, big open house, Discover USC. And as part of Discover USC, we will hold the Viterbi Expo, which will bring out faculty, student organizations, design teams, etc. It's a huge day on campus, and there's lots of ways to learn more. That is going to be on Sunday, October 20th. Everything about all of our events is at viterbi.link/events, and I recommend you check it out and register because space is limited at every single one of these sessions. Outside of that, Gerson, it's great to see you. Congratulations. I love the full circle moment. You were a listener and now you're a guest host on the podcast. Thank you so much for this episode, Safia. It's good to see you. And I hope all of you out there have a great week. We'll be back next week with another episode of Viterbi Voices. See you then. Bye.